And about this time, I think you've shared with me that this was an exercise in you learning that building to sell wasn't necessarily your tact in development.
Correct. This was my sort of segue out of condominium development and trying to make for sale housing where you could actually have a convertible house. You could own the house. You could have a rental space in it and a granny flat with a rental space there, and you could actually be able to rent and actually live there for free. In addition, we started looking at, we on the far left, we own a triplex, and we were looking at some rental income because we kept looking at building these things and paying 50% of every dollar that we made, paying it to the government, having nothing at the end. Then the people took the product, it was a great product, and they made a whole bunch of money off it. So it's like, whoa, that's got to stop. So I had a goal at that point from here that we're going to go forward and build 200 lofts. And we were going to own them, and they were going to make me $200 a month each loft, tax-free. That's 40 grand a month. I was going to make $500,000 tax-free, and then I was going to sail on the sunset.
The sunset. So I know you've talked about this publicly, that you set upon this goal. I'd be curious how the goal of 200 units came about, and ultimately, how did you do against that scorecard years later?
Well, we got up to 171, and then we had all the greedy people show up that were going to convert all the apartments into condos and make, cajillions overnight. So they decided they'd buy 141 of our units and pay us $45 million for that. And I said, I did the millisecond for a yes on that, and
there wasn't a long pause.
There wasn't a long pause. No, there was no awkward pause. It was all about yes.
Okay.
And some blind ignorance has actually played a huge role in my success. Also, just not being that smart, not really knowing all the stuff that could go wrong. The dance we did with those guys at the last second was unbelievable. But we did that deal. Those guys were greedy. They should have closed 6 months earlier. They could have made a whole bunch of money. They had the opportunity to go longer. They did. They paid us our $45 million, and I tell you, the next day, the toilet flushed and the whole market went out. It was incredible.
So once again, there's this timing thing. You're like the pre-recession guy.
How does that happen? It's just like, and I don't believe in the word luck. I think there's fortune. I think you work hard, and you just continue to push. You never take no for an answer. You try to learn the rules, play the game. I think my son Matthew's starting to learn how to do that. I think we can talk about the Q a little bit later, how that went on. But being your own guy with no partners, you can do whatever you want.
But you're two guys. I mean, in the traditional sense, you're the architect, you're the developer. Do you ever argue with yourself? I mean, is there a conversation back and forth between these two inner demons of yours?
Yeah, I'm always arguing with myself to make it simpler and less expensive. And I don't always seem to win that battle. But that is the goal. You have to do that. You have to just make it the bare essence of what the space wants to be and what the building wants to be. And if you look, there's no ornament. It's shaken down to the minimum. It's all about proportion and space and trying to provide a better product that a small part of the market wants. I mean, the whole market doesn't want what we do.
So you have recognized that.
Yeah, it's a very small, but we only build small amounts. If we were going to take over 3 or 4 city blocks with our work, I'm not sure there would be that huge of a capacity to fill.
Could you have done this anywhere but San Diego, or could you have done this in LA? Could you have done this?
I think, and it goes back to my father. Obviously, my father competed in track and field in the Olympics. He got a bronze medal, and then he came to the United States, and he didn't go to UCLA, he didn't go to USC, he didn't go to Notre Dame. He went to Furman University in South Carolina, so he became the big fish in the small pond. And I don't think I ever looked out to do that, but I think serendipitously it's happened. And I think that's a key to success for a lot of architects in this city is, you don't have the big LA crowd, everybody trying to outdo each other. You're just trying to do a wonderful building. And the opportunities in San Diego are huge relative to other cities.
Were the opportunities peaking when you came and peaking during your career here, or do they have yet to peak? I mean, where does
they're endless. They're endless. They will continue to go on and on and on. You just look, the little bitty projects that make huge influences. I mean, look at Lloyd's little bar that got an orchid last year. I mean, it's like a little bitty bar, and it's a huge influence. And I think that's what's so great about San Diego. In LA, I don't think that happens. I mean, how do you deal with Frank Gehry? How do you deal with Morphosis? I mean, you go on and on and on and on. In San Diego, you know, there's this little bitty clan of people that are doing work, and I think we're supporting and helping each other too. I don't think there's this adversarial relationship that most cities have.
Including the state, you have a portfolio that has got more awards than I'd care to spend time enumerating right now, but which of them mean the most to you?
Other than the rising to, you know, the AIA status, I think, again, I really just never understand this stuff as we're going through it. I was, the Residential Architecture magazine, we got 2 awards one year, and we got 3 national AIA awards. That's out of 10. There were 10 awards given, and we got 3 of them. And we thought that was kind of cool. Not really understanding that 30% of all the awards given in the nation one year were ours. And the Residential Architecture Award magazine called me up and said, well, you know, we're going to give you an award. And I go, well, that's really cool. Well, you get it in LA. And I really understand what it was. And they came out and talked to me, and a photographer did, and so forth. And so I get into the room. The room probably had 3,000 or 4,000 people in it. And there it was, me and Wendy, and there was a guy named Ray Cappy. I didn't know who that was. And there was a company called Koenig and Eisenberg. I didn't know who they were either. And I'm sitting at the table with these guys just chatting. Well, what do you do? What do you do? And they're looking at me like, come on, do you don't know who we are? And I do that a lot, which is kind of bad.
So you're this guy from San Diego.
Yeah, this guy from San Diego. And Ray Cappy's wife was really wonderful. And we got the rising star of the nation. And then all of a sudden I'm looking, oh, that's Koenig Eisenberg. Oh, that's right. Okay, there's Ray Cappy. And then Ray Cappy starts talking about his stuff. And I think that, which was probably 6 years ago, looking back was huge for us. I mean, it just really means a lot.
And how does the FAIA fellowship status, I mean, your fellow status, how does that make you feel today? And how did it make you feel when
Oh, I think there's 5% of the AI that are fellows, and I think you can get it from design, or you can help educationally or politically, or you can actually develop a product, a new glass, or put your own cigar, or whatever you do. I really think that my peers, as I go sort of into the upper echelon of the awards level, everybody feels honored to be a FIA. Craig Curtis, a really good friend from Miller Hull's office, got his, and it was his. It wasn't his firm's. You know, no one shares that. You are that person, and that is your award. And you know, in my office, there's been a lot of people that have helped to do what I've done, but that's mine, and I think that's the distinction of having that.
Have any of these professional colleagues or academics weighed in on your body of work? I mean, how has that come to pass?
Good and bad. I mean, I really sort of understand kind of how stupid those tabloids are. When people say wonderful things, you know, you're all happy. When they say bad things, you're like, wow, that was kind of lame. And you just have to ignore it. We did our seminar for 700 people in LA, and there was a blog that happened afterwards. And there were 3 people that were just saying stupid things and that were mean. It's like, Matthew says, ignore it. Aaron says, ignore it. You can't really ignore it, but if you just do really ignore it, you move on. But if you become part of it and consumed, it starts to affect you. So if you just keep in your own space and don't worry about anybody else, just worry about you, move forward.
But your work is so public. I mean, it's not you. It's like once you put a project out there and it's completed or even under construction, you've essentially opened up your entire design philosophy to critics and the applause.
It's something that I would say in the last year or 2 that I've become very comfortable with. Before that, you're always wondering if it's going to work out. You're always insecure about, you know, is it going to be a good building? Are people going to like it? What do they say? And now at this point, I could care less. I mean, what people really say. Because you get to this certain level where you have to break out of that, and you cannot be consumed about what Keith thinks. If Keith says something nice, great. But if he doesn't, I don't care. I'm moving on.
But there was a period up until, you speak of this comfort you're at now. There was a period of time where every critic or critique or accolade did mean something. And
right.
you've grown more comfortable understanding how it ebbs and flows.
Right.
How it can go either way. But there